So a common question many parents have is it okay to disagree? And is it okay, or when is it okay to fight? And that's really quite a loaded question. But to simplify it, we like to think of it in terms of what is stressful for the developing infant brain. If we think back to attachment and we think back to stressful situations, one of the important concepts to remember is there is such a thing as tolerable stress and positive stress. And that is stress in a situation where a child experiences what normal interactions are between adults and how these are resolved. And that can be quite a powerful experience for a developing brain to recognize that not every situation where there is a difference in opinion or there is a divergent opinion necessarily leads to a bad outcome. And that's an important lesson for children to learn, and who better to demonstrate that than parents having an argument or a disagreement. It becomes tricky when that argument or disagreement somehow crosses over the threshold of being a positive stressful experience into a more adverse or toxic relationship stressor. And that can take the form of domestic violence, of parents not even necessarily being physically aggressive to each other, but being verbally quite aggressive, disrespectful, and ugly with each other. And what that does to the developing brain is it provides an opportunity for them to be extremely dysregulated in the presence of dysregulated caregivers who are meant to buffer the environment for them. And if there is a sense that they are overwhelmed, that there is no resolution to the conflict, that there is no peaceful end result, the baby experiences it as quite an abrasive insult to its developing architecture. They are more anxious, they become more clingy to the primary caregiver, they're unable to negotiate because they're scared, there's uncertainty in terms of how the adults will eventually resolve this. And so what parents need to realize is that there are two things. That being authentic is good and important, and that means to kind of be real and be true to the emotions that may be happy, sad, angry, disappointed. But it's also important for parents to realize that when the conflict goes to a level that is disruptive and that is distressing to the adult, then it's magnified in its amplitude of distress for the baby. So if a mum feels stressed out by this ongoing conflict, if a father feels completely exasperated by it, then the baby in that relationship is also absorbing that stress and is also unable to regulate themselves as the adults fail to regulate, which really brings you on to the question of, should you stay together for the sake of the child? And there's this common urban myth that a child needs both parents at all times in order for them to have the best chance at developing optimally. It's not true. A child needs two parents who are consistent, who are loving and respectful. And very often we see that while two adults in a relationship just don't work out, they're disrespectful and they're unhappy and they're distressing, separately they might be very capable of being good, independent, resilient, consistent, and empathic caregivers to that child. So while there's no simple answer to it, it's what instinctively again feels right. If you feel distressed, your baby senses that anxiety and that distress, and you have a high rate of disrupting their normal brain architectural development, then if you are able to regulate yourself effectively, if you're able to seek some resolution to that conflict, and when it comes to divorce, there is no easy way out. But sometimes we need to take a step back and reflect and say, can you be a better parent separate from each other than together? Because at the end of the day, we want to promote a good, safe, harmonious environment for the child. That doesn't require money or fancy stimulating toys or an excess of luxury. It requires for the parents to be trustworthy and for the parents to be respectful as an example to the developing child.